let's get started on the page bases. I have two different styles of pages, actually three different styles. Two of one, two of another, and then that center page is one by itself. So it's a total of 5 pages. So this is the one we're going to start with. This is actually open right now, but it will be attached to the hinge, and so this will be on the hinge. This will be sealed shut. It'll be open on top for a insert of some sort. So this is a pocket right here, and then when you open it, there I just put a little corner pocket right down there. I just had some scrap paper. I have a waterfall, and then when you turn that over, there's another pocket right here. Okay, so that's the style we're going to make. You might want to find a decorative punch. That's what I used to. I didn't use a Cricut or anything. I just used a decorative Martha Stewart punch. Actually, it's this one. So I don't know if you have that, but that's the one I used. So let's go ahead and I'll give you the measurements for the paper, and that's the one we're making right now. I love this paper. So for the base, the main piece is now I'm giving you the amount that you need for 2 pages because I have 2 of this style. So when I say to cut out 2 at 11 by 7.5, that's so that you can make 2 pages. I'm counting this as pages 2 and 5. Okay, so go ahead and cut out 2 at 11 by 7.5, and you're going to want to move that. You're going to want to score that right in half. So at 5.5, you're going to score. That's 5.5. That's the halfway mark of 11, and that's going to be your base page. Okay. When we work with it, we want to remember that the open part goes to the left because that's what will be attached to the hinge. Okay. All right. 2 other pieces you're going to need. I should have written this down. I don't have it. I'll write as I go. Maybe that will help. I need a pen. That will help too. Okay, so let's see. 2 and 5. 3 by 8.5. Let me write that. So there are 2 pockets per page, and those measure 3 by 8.5. So really you're going to want to cut 4 for 2 pages. Okay, so 2 per page, 3 at 8.5. And once you have those cut, you're going to want to put them on your scoreboard and score at 1/2 inch on one side. And then I went ahead and scored at 8 inches on the other side, so you have a 1/2 inch on each side. Now this time I did not add an extra 1/2 inch at the bottom for this pocket. I'm just going to use glue, hoping that that will take care of some bulk, make it not as thick, and also it's just going to hold something very light and not heavy, so it shouldn't be a problem with breakthrough when I put the insert in. Okay, so each one gets 2. After I did the scoring at 1/2 on each end, I went ahead with my decorative punch, cut along that, and then I went ahead and did some sponging to make it look antique-y and vintage, and I did that on both of them. Okay, now when I folded these in, I did have to do some trimming of the pattern so it wouldn't show through. Okay, so 2 of those for each page, so a total of 4. And for the waterfall that's on the inside, you're going to want 2 that measure 4 by 6.5, and that's what I use for the base to keep my waterfall even. And it's nice just to make the waterfall and then glue it down into your book. So 2 at 4 by 6.5. And then each of the waterfalls has 3 pages or 3 flips. So you're going to need a total of 6 that are 4 by 5.5. Okay, so if you want to freeze that and write it down and start cutting, that'd be awesome. Now on the pieces that measure 4 by 5.5, you're going to place the 5.5 inch side across the top of your scoreboard, and you're going to score at 1/2 just on one side. And you'll do that for all 6 of them, 3 per page, 3 per waterfall. Okay. And there is one more piece that you're going to need that I didn't write the measurement down, so let me find it on my notes. That was for the waterfall. And now for the flip or the page flap, I shouldn't write flip, I should be flap. You're going to want two that measure 5 5/8 by 7 1/2. Okay, and I say two because you're making two pages, and that's for your page flap. That's 5 5/8 by 7 1/2. Okay, and I'll go ahead and put the score marks on here. You do want a little bit of a gusset, just a real tiny one. And I scored at 5, and I'm going to score at, ooh, I can't read my writing, 5 1/8. Okay, and I'll show you that here in just a second. So you're going to place the 5 5/8 side across the top of your scoreboard. You score at 5 and 5 1/8. Okay, once you score, you're going to want to burnish them so that you have a 1/8 inch gusset. Okay, so it gives you just enough, because there's going to be a waterfall underneath, it gives you just enough room so that it'll lay nice. So let's put this together. Let's start by getting our base page. Have your flap, have your page open to the left hand side. Okay, and I'm going to be looking at mine just so I don't make any mistakes. Okay, so you're going to want to take one of your pockets that you've already scored at 1/2 inch each side. If you're going to do a decorative border, that you've done that. We did fold these in. We're going to place glue on the two 1/2 inch sides and along the very bottom. I'm going to be using art glitter glue. Some people like to use score tape, and that's totally fine. It's the adhesive of your choice. Okay, and I've been having a lot of issues with this tip, so I think I need to run it under some hot water, but let's see if I can get through this. And I'm going to do the other side. I do them at the same time. And I am going to run a fine bead of glue, a line, along this very bottom. Okay, and you're going to line it up at the bottom and on the left hand side. And make sure it looks good. And you're going to want to push down and make sure it's burnished real well. I'm going to go ahead and get a dry wet wipe. Just make sure if I have any glue coming out here. And I also like my Teflon burnishing tool. Okay, and that's all I did on that page, because once you put the decorative paper here and you add some embellishments, that really is enough pizzazz. I mean, it looks exciting enough, and there'll be some tags inside of here. Okay, so then I'm going to have you turn it over so that the opening is now on the right hand side. So the opening is now on the right. And we are going to place the flap that we have the 1/8 inch gusset. We're going to glue that so that it's on the edge. We're going to put it on the far right hand side. You can miter these if you want to. I think I am going to miter them just a little bit so that there's not any overhang. Now, if you miter them, you just go to the first score line. Don't go to the second one. Okay, just a slight mitering, not much. And again, it went to the first score line, not the second. So I'm going to place my glue on this 1/2 inch fold. And I'm going to line it up with the bottom. And the side. So make sure it's lining up fine here and down here. And I'm going to go ahead and open it. Get rid of any excess glue that might have squeezed out. And I'll give it a burnish. Okay. So you can see there's just that little bit of a gusset. Now we're going to place the pocket on that side. So we're going to lay the pocket on the very far right hand side. We're going to put glue on our 1/2 inch ends and along the bottom. Oh, I forgot the bottom. Okay, just a thin line. And you don't want to go on the gusset when you glue this. You want to go up to the gusset. I'm getting glue all over my finger. I'm going to have to pick this up and look at it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open this so I can burnish it. And go ahead and make sure it's down real good. All right. So I still have the opening on the right. I'm going to open up my flap. This side I left empty except for that corner piece. That's optional. Let me just show you how I do that. Let's see, I don't even remember what size it was. Was it 3 by 3? Let me look. I just did it off the top. I just found a piece of scrap paper that I had and decided to put it on at the last minute. So you know what? I don't even think I used base paper. I just used decorative paper. That's what I did. Let's see. I still have it. Let me do some measuring to see if this was the right size. No, because nope, it's gotta be higher than that. So let me measure this real quick because I didn't allow for, I wasn't planning on doing another one, but so we're gonna want a square after you put on your decorative paper. So don't do it now, but this measures, it'll be a 3.5 by 3 inch square, and then you'll just, is that right? Yep, a 3.5 by, that's not a square, then it's a rectangle. 3.5 by 3 inches, and we'd cut diagonally. So let me show you what I mean, because I'm not going to decorate on camera. So when you have your paper, this is just scratch paper. Let's say after you put your decorative paper on, if you want that triangular corner pocket, you're going to score at 1/2 inch along one side, turn it 1 turn, and a 1/2 inch along the bottom. Then you're going to take your cutter, and I line up one corner in the opposite diagonal corner in my trimmer. Cut that off, and then I just fold this over and fold this over. Cut out your square where they overlapped at an angle, and then when you fold this, you can see that you're going to see part of that, so you just need to trim it with your scissors. And then same down here, you're going to want to trim that that's hanging off, and then you'll just put glue on the 2 sides and put it on the corner. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to go ahead and throw that away. That was just scratch paper. Okay, so let's move on to the waterfall. So I place mine on my scoreboard, the base, and let's see, what was the base I had? 4 by 6.5. Is that right? Yep, 4 by 6.5. And I lay it so that the 4 inches is across the top. I've already scored all of my pages at 1/2 inch on the 5.5 inch side. So now I'm just going to burnish them. Where's my burnishing tool? There it is. I'm going to add this back on. I should have burnished these ahead of time, but this, sometimes I have like 5 or 6 different burnishing tools. I see a lot of people use this one, but I haven't had that much luck with it. I don't know if I'm just not used to it, but I think we all have our own favorite bone folders. And I'll just do all 3 while I'm at it. Burnish it real good so it lays flat. And okay. So again, this has the 4 inch side at the top. Do not miter these corners because we want them to go from end to end on our base paper. And I'm going to place this at the very top, and I'm going to use my scoreboard then to help me get it lined up exactly right. So it goes all the way to the top. We want it to line up on both sides, no overhang. And then once you have it adhered, you're going to open it and you're going to want to burnish it real well. Okay. Now, where this ends, you'll see the ridge where it ended. That's where we're going to butt up the next piece, right up against that one. And so let's place glue. You can always round your corners if you want to, or if you have a decorative corner punch. Those are nice on the waterfalls. Make sure it's pushed up against your scoreboard. Go up to that 1/2 inch that we just glued down before. Make sure it's lined up on the left and the right. Once you have it down, lift it up and make sure you get rid of any excess glue. Now let me show you. I don't know if you can see, it's just a hair that hangs over. I'm just going to clip that so that there's nothing hanging over. Easy as that. Okay. And we have one more. Sometimes when I take pictures, I don't have like 50 or 60 pictures related to the theme, and so having a waterfall with only 3 flips is pretty nice. You don't always need a ton of that room. This one is not lined up right. Ooh, that is terrible. Come on, straighten out. There we go. And let's burnish. Nothing's hanging over, is it? Nope. And there is our waterfall. Now I just did, when I decorated, I did not do the decorative paper on the underside. Thinking that I'll probably go back in and take, these are 1/2 inch. I'll probably go back and put a 3/8 inch strip there to cover that little 1/2 inch, but I left the backs open. Now, when you adhere this to the page, you're going to want to make sure that you've already matted it with your decorative paper first. Then you're going to lay that waterfall on. So let me show you. Again, with your opening on the right hand side, we're going to open the door here. This will already be covered with your decorative paper. I use seam binding as my closure, so after I have put all my decorative paper here, I have seam binding that I will, which color did I use? That one. So you're going to want to measure enough that you can tie it. So I've cut it. It's better to cut it too long than too short. And I would glue this. Actually, I can do it right now and show you. You're going to find the center, and I just glue the seam binding down before I lay it down on my page. So I'll just put a narrow strip here. Find the middle of the seam binding. Just lay it down. Okay, and then you'll adhere that to the back of the flap after you have put your decorative paper on. I feel like I keep getting out of frame. I don't know. Okay. So that's that page style. Like I said, if you want to, once you put your decorative paper here, you can put a corner pocket if you want to. Okay, so I'm going to lay that one off to the side. You'll do two of that style, and I'll just show you real quick in case you want to see what it looks like once I had it decorated. I say that, but now I can't. Oh, here it is. So I put the decorative paper inside, I laid it down inside of the pocket. I put a different color on the actual pocket. I placed some lace, and then I covered it with another piece of lace that had pearls. Found the center and put a decorative pearl embellishment there. When you turn it over, I took flat back pearls and placed them on the edge of the pocket where the pocket and the decorative border meet. I put a little doily down at the bottom, found a flower, a metal leaf, and a decorative piece of bling. And then I opened it, and I did not decorate. Got to be careful what you put on the inside so that it lays flat. So really just the seam binding on that corner pocket. Then I just added some ephemera. Okay, so that's what that looks like decorated. I'll go back and tie this later. So now let's do the other page style. So this one is not going to be top loading. This one is side loading. Okay, so I actually have that this will be the front page, and you'll notice I have two belly bands, one on each side of the flap, and then I placed this inside of those belly bands to keep the doors closed. So that's my closure for this one. It opens on the left and on the right, and it's pretty open for pictures and journaling. So I made sure I picked a lighter color on the sides if I wanted to do some writing. You can always go back and put the mats in for them too. Okay, so that's that. And then on this side, I used the doily punch by Tim Holtz for the top flap. That goes up. And then you'll see that I have a pocket down at the bottom, and that's also with the Tim Holtz doily die. Okay, not punch, it's a die. And that's all that is in there for that page. So this will be open on the side so that you can put in an insert on the side. So let's go ahead and I will give you the measurements for that page style. All right, so because you're doing two of these, I put the measurements down for 2 pages. So this is my page 1 and 4 in my book. So you'll need 2 that measure 5.5 by 7.5 and 2 that measure 5.5 by 8.5. And that's the base page, pages 1 and 4. So let's do our scoring for that. Place your 5.5 by 8.5 inch piece along the top. The 8.5 is across the top. You're going to score at 1/2 and go ahead and score at 8 so that you have 1/2 inch ends. Let's go ahead and burnish those. Burnish them real good. You'll take your 5.5 by 7.5 inch paper and you're going to lay that on top of those 1/2 inch folds, and that's going to form our base. I'm going to go ahead and do just a slight tapering on the half inch scores we just did. Just slight, just in case I don't line it up exactly perfect. Okay, let me clean up that little mess. I'm just going to put glue on one at a time for this, so let's just start at the bottom. Okay, and I'm going to butt this up and make sure that it lines up on the bottom and on the sides. Burnish it. And now hopefully we laid it on well enough that all we have to do is bring it down flat onto this page. So let's put glue on the other end. And bring it down and lay on top of that. And burnish. Got a little excess glue coming out there. I need to clean my scoreboard or my score pad here, cutting mat. Ooh, it's getting dirty. I like these to be as flat as possible. All right, so there's our base page. You can see that it's open on the sides, and that's where we attach it to our spine, and then the other side is where you can put the insert. Okay, so then the next couple pieces you're going to need. You're going to want a total of 4 flaps. This is for the 2 doors that come across one another. So here are the measurements. You're going to need them at 4 by 7.5. Okay, so a total of 4, 2 for each of your pages. Let's go ahead and score both of those. Place the 4 inches across the top and score at 1/2 inch. Do that on both pieces. 4 inches across the top, 1/2 inch score. While we're at it, we might as well burnish. Make sure those are down real good. And the other one. Now some people like to do all their cutting first, then go back and do their scoring. Because I kind of design these as I go, like I don't have an idea in my mind. I just start and then whatever comes out, comes out. So I just kind of cut and score as I go. So that might be hard for some of you, but that's what works best for me. So there's our 2 doors. Let's place those off to the side. You are going to need your belly bands, 1 for each door, the closures. So a total of 4 at 1 inch by 4.5 inches. So 2 for each of the pages. 1 by 4.5. We're going to score those by putting the 4.5 inch side across the top and score both of those at 1/2 on one end then and at 4 inches on the other end. Do that for both pieces. 4 inches or 4.5 across the top, score at 1/2 and score at 4. Let's move those to the side. And you're going to want 2 pieces that measure 6 1/4 by 4. 6 1/4 by 4. I went ahead and put it through my die cutting machine with the Tim Holtz doily pattern. Okay. And that's how I got my top to be a little bit more exciting. Then you're going to go put them in your scoreboard so that the 6.5 inches is across the top. You're going to score at 1/2 inch and at 6 inches. Again, I didn't allow for that 1/2 inch at the bottom because I want to make sure that it's a flat book and I didn't want any extra bulk. Okay, so that's what that pocket looks like. And you're going to need 2 top pages or 2 top flaps, and those measure 5.5 by 7 3/4. I did place the Tim Holtz doily die and run it through the Sizzix. I did take my ink and distress it once it came out. You're going to place the 7 3/4 side on your scoreboard and score it 1/2. Okay. So let's go ahead and put the doors on. Now let me warn you, do not put the belly bands on yet because we have to put our decorative paper on first before we put these down, because we're going to be making slits so that it goes through so you don't see these little 1/2 inch tabs. So don't glue these ahead of time and think, oh, I know what I'm doing. Just wait if you're not sure. Let's move those to the side. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the doors on. We're going to glue one on the left hand side and one on the right hand side. It doesn't matter which one you put down first because they're going to overlap. I'm going to do a slight mitering, just real slight up to the score line on both of the doors. This book comes together quickly, and I really think that with this paper it's all about the decorating and how elegant it looks when it's done. So it's not a hard book, it's a very good book for a beginner. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and place my adhesive on the 1/2 inch here. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and put this on the corner of my scoreboard to help me line it up. And make sure it's all the way to the edge. And top and bottom are lined up. Open the door. I got a little bit of extra adhesive I need to get rid of. And I'm going to flip it over so I can use this as a guide again. And I'm going to lay down my second piece. And just the right amount of glue. Butt it up all the way to the edge. Check the top and the bottom so that you don't have any overhang. Looks pretty good. And you're going to want to burnish real good so that you get rid of any excess glue that might seep out. Okay, so on my door, I have that the left hand side is on top of the right hand side. Okay, so that's all we're going to do on this side until we put decorative paper on, so that I can show you how to put the slits in the paper to put on the belly bands. If you want to use this as a closure, this measures, I don't know, this is 5 inches by 3, so 3 by 5, and then I just used a cloud punch. No, was it the cloud? No, the scallop punch on the corners, and I just put paper on the front. Okay, so 3 by 5. So I'm going to hold off on doing anything else on the front for a minute, and I'm going to turn it over onto the back. And our back is the lift up page and the pocket. Okay, so let's take our 6 1/4 by 4 piece. We're gonna put, I think I should be okay without cutting, mitering the corners, so I'm not gonna do that to this. Just gonna put my adhesive on the 1/2 inch sides and then along a thin line along the bottom, from one end to the other. Push your sides in. Place it on the bottom, line it up with the bottom and the 2 sides. And looks good. Let's go ahead and burnish. Now I my tutorials show how to do the making of the pages. When I cut my decorative paper, I go 1/8 of an inch smaller than what I cut for the bases, for the, you know, the main construction of the book. Some people do 1/4, I do 1/8. Okay, so there's our pocket. And now we're going to take the other one that was 5 1/2 by 7 3/4, and we're going to glue that to the top. I am going to miter just a hair. And I hope I'm in frame. And push this up against my scoreboard. Make sure it's lined up top, bottom, sides, so that it lays nice. I think I've got it. So I'm going to go ahead and lift that flap open and burnish. Okay. So I'm going to hold off on the 2 belly bands for a minute and move on to the 3rd page style. So this is a 1/2 of a page. I don't have one to show you what it looks like because I'm only doing one of this style. And I already did some of the gluing, so sorry about that. Okay, so I got ahead of myself. You're going to need a piece that is 3 1/2 by 8 1/2, and a piece that is, that's really hard to read, 3 1/2 by 7 1/2. Okay, that's this piece right here. This is what's going to be attached to the spine. It's just a 1/2 page. Then I put a pocket here. Oops, my hand is in the way. Put a pocket here, and that pocket, you're going to want 2 of those because one on the front and one on the back. So I have a pocket here and a pocket here, and those measure 4 by 4 1/2. 4 by 4 1/2. So let me, you're going to place, I'm sorry I did this off camera, I wasn't even thinking. Let's say that this is my paper. You're going to take the paper that is 3 1/2 by 8 1/2 with your 8 1/2 inch side going across the top, and score at 1/2 and at 8. 1/2 and 8. Okay. And just like we did the other base page, we're going to glue the 3 1/2 by 7 1/2 inch piece on top. I'm so sorry I did this off camera. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay. So I went ahead and glued it on top, so we have this opening again. And this side will attach to the spine. This side we're going to have an insert. I took the pockets that were 2 by 4 1/2, and again I wanted them to lay flat. So what I did was I placed the 4 1/2 inch side across the top and scored at 1/2 and at 4. So this pocket was 4 1/2 inches, score at 1/2 and at 4. Next time I'll know better, not do that off camera. You're going to do it just like we did the other pockets. Score them, burnish them, glue on the 2 1/2-inch sides and along the bottom. I did not put a 1/2-inch seam at the bottom. And this will hold a tag. And then you're going to do the same thing with the other piece and put it on the back. Okay. I know I said sorry, but I'm saying it again. Sorry, I did it off camera. That's our middle page. So that's page 3. You are also going to want to do an insert. And the insert is like a pop-up. And so, let me put this back up so you can see it. The insert, you're going to need a 7 3/8 by 11 piece. 7 3/8 by 11. Hopefully you can see that. Let me adjust. You're going to want one piece that is 5 3/8 by 8 1/2. And nope. Why do I have the number 3? You only need 2. Oh yeah, I'm wrong. You're going to need 3 pieces that are 3 by 3. 3 pieces that are 3 by 3. Okay. Take your paper that is 7 3/8 by 11, and I'm going to have you score right in half at 5 1/2. Take your piece that is 5 3/8 by 8 1/2. Place your 8 1/2-inch side across the top and score at 4 1/4. Take your 3 by 3 papers, put them on the scoreboard. You're going to score at 1/2, 1 1/2, 2 1/2. Let me tell you that again. 3 inches is the width. Score at 1/2, 1 1/2, 2 1/2, and you're going to do that to all 3 pieces. All 3. You're going to want to burnish those on the score lines. So that they end up looking like little triangles. And this is how we're going to make it so that this smaller piece is raised from the bigger piece. So there'll be a space when you open. It'll lay flat, and then when you open it, this will be up a little bit. Okay, so those are the pieces you need for that. And then this is going to slide into that page. So it's going to look like a full page. And then that'll come out, open it up, and you'll have that pop up. All right, so let's get ready to put together the mechanism for the pop-up. It is time to put the waterfall into our books, or our page. This is the page that has the pockets on each side, remember. So with the opening on the left-hand side, let's open it up. I already put my decorative paper on. I did put some adhesive on the back. This is that Prima tape. I found it in my stash, but score tape is what I would use if I had that too. And we're just going to lay it down. We already adhered the seam binding. I've already put the paper, and I had to be creative. My paper wasn't wide enough, so I just cut another strip and did a border punch to make it fit the page, the width, and I had to do that on 2 pages. Okay, so use every scrap. Let's go ahead and peel off the backing. This one's got a little over it. And then we'll just lay it down and push down real hard so it doesn't come up. And we're going to center it. I almost got something gross on there. The tape picked up something. Okay, so I'm just going to eyeball it. Center it top, bottom, side to side. And that works. Then I'm going to go ahead and just lift each page and burnish. Oops. Just to make sure it's down. I'll come back probably and put a strip of paper right there. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and tie this so it stays closed. Ooh, I didn't cut that as long as I thought I did. Come on. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't cut that any shorter than I did. Okay. And then I will go back and I'm going to add some trim. Probably glue that down right there. And am I close enough? Let's see. Yeah. I have some other trims that I might add. This is what I did before. Oh my God. I had this on top. Like so. So I like to do 2 layers usually. Okay. So I'll just have to go through my laces and see what I have. I have some petaloo flowers that I might put on there too. Okay, so that's all for that. I did put a little embellishment on that little corner pocket, and so when I make the hinge I will just be gluing, putting glue here and putting it on the hinge. So I'll go back and decorate that in a little bit. So let's move on to the next part that I haven't shown you yet. I gotta find it. Here it is. Oops. Okay, so now it's time to put on the belly bands to keep the page closed. So you will notice that I put paper on the front and the back, and I put on the pocket. This is the back page. This is going to be my front. I only put paper on the left and the right front, and on the inside these need to be empty because we're going to be cutting a slit at the top and bottom of each of these and putting them through. So don't put the paper on the inside until you have put these on. So what I did last time on the other one is I kind of eyeballed it first. Okay. And I'm just going to use a pencil mark. I can always go back and erase it. And I'm just eyeballing it. You can measure if you want to. And what I'm going to do is look to see, trying to center this from the flap to the edge. And I'm just going to mark a line from where it starts to stops on the top and the bottom. Okay. I can see those just fine. And then this one I'm going to put closer to the inside than the outside, because when I lay this in, that's about perfect actually. So I want to line it up, so I'm going to put this one back on so that they're as straight as possible. And I'm going to go with that, I think. And I'm going to draw the line. Remember, these were 1 inch wide. Okay, so now I'm going to get my knife. And I am going to use this cutting. I don't know why. I just, whenever I have to cut something, I always go to this. And I'm going to open up the door. And I'm looking at my lines, and I'm going to get my ruler. I use a metal one. And I'm just going to lay that down. And I'm going to make the slit that's 1 inch. And actually I'm going to line it up just to make sure on the 1 inch line. So it'll go from the 1 to the 2. Okay, and let's see, it went all the way through. And now I want to make sure that this fits. You know what, I'm going to go ahead and miter these little 1/2" pieces so that it goes through the slit easier. All right, and let's see if that worked. Yep. Perfect. Now I'm going to go back and I can see some of the pencil, so I'm going to erase that. And you will see that it goes to the other side, and we're going to glue that down. Okay, that way you won't see that 1/2" on the decorative paper. All right, so now I'm going to do the same thing with the other line I drew. Lay down my ruler, go from one. Went all the way through, tuck that under there, pull it from the other side. Okay, now you can either fold them down this way or this way, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to have them lay flat. So I'm going to go ahead and get my glue and put the glue on the little piece that came through and just lay it down. And over here. And we're going to be putting decorative paper on it so it'll keep it down. That's not straight enough for me. That'll teach me a lesson. It's crooked, so I need to make this a little bit there we go. That's better. That'll teach me to eyeball it, huh? Okay. And now, I still think that's kind of crooked. I'm going to fix it because that's going to bug me. So I need to move it over this way. Yeah, just putting it a tiny bit. Okay, I think I'm finally happy with it. Third time's a charm. Much better. That's straight now. Okay, let's do that to the other side. We're going to open up the door, look for our pencil mark, put our ruler down, and cut that 1" slit. I'm going to go ahead and put it in. I'm going to miter these corners first. Just gets it's easier if you miter the corners just to get it through that slot. And I'm going to pull it through the other side. Looks good. And open it back up. Get my metal ruler. Let's see if I cut that one. I felt the ruler kind of move a hair. So let's not glue this down until we know it's straight. And I don't think it is, so I'm going to stretch it just a hair. I think it needs to go this way. There we go. So let's look to make sure that works for me. Now I'll glue. And one more. Now remember, I told you I was going to decorate off camera, but I did cut my paper 1/8 of an inch smaller. And then let's just make sure, you know what, this might not be dried yet, but let's see if that fits through there. And it's going to. Fabulous. And that keeps our door closed. So I'll be adding some decorations on the front. Don't put really any decorations except for flat paper on the inside so that it closes nice. Remember, on this side, this is where I put this embellishment. Okay, I have a, it's hard to see, but I have a crocheted doily. I have a lace leaf applique, flower, leaves, little clock, and I'm not going to do the same exact thing, but I'm going to try and do something a little bit close just so they kind of match. Okay, so I still need to show you the pop-up for the insert for that middle page. So I'm going to put these to the side and let me find it. So that's the page. So this is, I still have to cover the outside, but I went ahead and covered the inside, and I'm going to go ahead and put paper on these two pieces, because when you open the book you're going to see those a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and put some of my scraps on the, when you look at it like a triangle, I'm going to do the sides. Okay, so let me put that paper on, and then I'm going to show you how to adhere that mechanism. Okay, let's get cooking on this pop-up feature. So you'll need your insert. I did go ahead and decorate the front and the inside. Okay, I'm going to be adding some lace here. Again, I'm short on paper, so it'll go into the pocket, and so this will have like lace on it or something to cover up that spot right there. So we're going to put the mechanism on the inside here. I did put some paper on. You could just use decorative paper instead of doing the base paper and decorative paper, but I did that. And then for this, you could leave this part empty, but I put paper on it just in case you could see it. And then I did something just real basic on the inside. Okay, so it has to be flat, so you can't really decorate in there. And it's going to be inside so that when it opens, this will have some dimension and it'll be up higher. Okay, so you've already scored, and now it's just time to put them down in the right spot. So I'm going to go ahead and use score tape, I think. Why? I don't know. I'm just going to feeling like score tape. I don't know. So I'm going to go ahead and put the tape on, and I want it to be good coverage. So you know what? I'm going to have, I think I have 1/8 of an inch. There, yeah, I do. And then I'll just put a thin line right next to it. And I'm going to do that for all. If I knew how to speed up videos, I would, but you might want to fast forward this part. Maybe I'll learn how to do it. I'm sure you don't want to sit and watch me tape all these, but I actually have never made one of these pop-up features before, so I'm hoping this works. And I just want to make sure that that's on real good, so I'm just pressing it down. Let's go ahead and do the other two. I'm going as close to the edge as I can. So when I say it's a pop-up feature, I don't want the mechanism popping up. That would not be a good thing. Okay. Almost there. And last one. Start with my 1/4. And yeah, okay. I'm hurrying. Maybe if you're working with me, you appreciate me not fast forwarding so you can get yours done too. Okay. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to place, we're going to take off just one side of the adhesive and we're going to place it as close, close to the score line, but not over it. And you might want to watch first and then do yours. Just taking the backing off the score tape. Okay. And I'm just going to place that right about there. Okay. So like so. And it's going to end up looking like a triangle. So I'm going to put the other side down on the other side of the score line. So more on the left-hand side here. Taking off the backing. And to do that, I'm just going to fold this in half and I'm going to close this and it should be in the right spot. Just want to make sure it's down real good so you have a triangle. The next one, we're going to take off one piece or one side and we're going to attach it to this triangle at the top. Okay, so let me bring it closer. So this is the top, this is the mountain part, and I'm going to place the 1/2 inch right along the top. Okay, hope you can see that. So let's do that. Taking off the backing. And I want you to be able to see, but I also need to, I'll let you see it after I attach it. Okay, so I attached it at the top, not at the bottom. And now I'm going to take off the other side and I'm going to fold it in half where that crease is, and I'm going to close it and it will go in the right spot. Okay, so here it is open. I'm going to close it at the halfway mark and I'm going to close the book and it's going to go exactly where it needs to go. Going to put my finger inside there, make sure it's, you know what, I have tools for this, I don't need to use my finger. Okay, and we're going to do that with the last one also, only we're going to do it on this side. I'm going to take off one side and place it at the top. Okay, like so. It's very easy once you do it once, it makes sense. Okay, I'm going to turn this just so it's easier for me to see. I'm going to put that adhesive side at the top of that original triangle. And I'm going to press down. So at the top, and now we're going to take off the other one, the other 1/2 inch backing. And then I'm going to, so at that halfway score mark, I'm going to fold it. I'm going to close the book. And then it's going to go exactly where it needs to go. So I'll bring it up high so you can see it. So this is what it looks like from a top, looking down on it. And then this is what it looks like at a side angle. Okay, so when you close it, it's going to look like diamonds. Okay, so as you can probably imagine, we're going to put adhesive here. So I guess I didn't really need paper there, but oh well. I'm going to put adhesive here, and then that's where I'm going to stick this book. And it's too big. Sassafras. I thought I measured it right. When it's open, it's the right size. But when I close it, it's too long. Okay, so I'll put a note on here to watch this first. I'm going to trim this. Maybe. Let me brainstorm. I'll be back. Okay, this is how I problem solve. Normally I would just redo the booklet and make a smaller one, but I am so short on paper, like I hardly have any, so I had to make do with what I had. So problem solving 101. First of all, I went ahead and put my adhesive. I have my score tape and my sticky back tape on here on the top. So I cut these in half, and they're not, I mean, they don't have the same amount of paper on the inside. I made them 3 7/8 inches long, and I made sure then that when I put them on top of each other and I close it, there's not going to be anything sticking out here. Should have done that before. Well, I did measure it, but I guess I didn't realize these were this high. So anyway, I don't want these separate. I want them together. So I just am going to hinge them together, and you won't see this because it's going to be underneath. So I'm just going to use this and attach these, and you won't even know, right? You won't even know. So I'm going to put a hinge on. You guys won't have to do this, obviously, because you didn't screw up. Well, hopefully I got to remember to put put a comment on the screen when I'm having people cut their paper to make sure that they do it shorter than what I did. So you can learn from my oops. All right. We are going to make it work. So it's all good. Nobody will know. Make sure these are going the right direction. That's all I would need. Okay. Just got them on top of each other, sandwiched together. I'm going to put this hinge on. Push it in as far as I can. All right. You totally won't notice. Yay. All right, let me just burnish this real well. Oh, never fails. It's always something, isn't it? Oh well. Made it work. I made it work. I made it work. Okay, so now we're going to take the backing off of this and this. Take the backing off, place this where we want it, close it, and it will be in there. It'll not hang over. Okay, here we go. I'm sorry if you cut the paper the wrong way like I did. I gotta remember to write myself a note to put a comment on the screen so you know. It would have been different if I had plenty of paper, but I don't, so. Okay. And I'm gonna eyeball it about where I want it. Let's stick it in the crease, and I'm just gonna close it, push down both sides. Now this is pretty thick, so that's part of the reason why I made a half pocket. Let me make sure it still fits inside. That's all I would need, huh? Oh yeah, no problem. Okay. It'll be a fat page, but so then when you open it, you have some dimension and it stands up, so it just is more, I mean, it's 3D. I think it's cool. So yeah, you can't tell, can you? No. Fixed. Okay. Let's get going now on the, whatchamacallit. I mean, like I said, I'll decorate off screen, but let's go ahead and put our book to the cover. So let me give you some measurements. Okay, so first of all, you're going to be attaching some paper. I gotta find my notes. Now I'm all flustered. Okay. You're going to need 2 pieces of chipboard at 6 by 8. 6 by 8. And I already put some adhesive on the back. That's what you need to do. And the spine is 3 by 8. Okay, I already put adhesive. The paper, I combined 2 pieces together. I did not need a full, 2 full 12-inch pieces put together. So I just looked through my scraps and I had a piece. Okay, let me back up so you can see this. There we go. So let me measure. This is about 19.5 inches long when I combine the two. And it is, how tall? 10 inches tall. So 10 inches high, 19.5 across. So I'm going to use my ruler to help me guide where to lay it down. And I want it to be 1 inch from the bottom. And I'm going to kind of lay it out just to make sure I have plenty of room. And I do not want the seam, what's what I'm looking for? Spine on the crease. And so it's going to be fine. Yep, it'll be on the back. So I'm going to go 1 inch from the bottom, and that's why this ruler is so helpful. And I'm just going to go ahead and start with my first one then. I don't have to start with my spine because I know it's going to end up in the right spot. And I am trying to get rid of this tape. I have some sheets, but like I just want to use this up and get back to my score tape. I haven't had a problem with this tape, but it's got a weird backing. It's like sticky, or I mean, it's just not as smooth. It feels weird. All right. I think I told you, it's some Prima it's the Frank Garcia tape. I don't know. As long as it sticks, I guess I don't care, but okay. I'm rambling. 1 inch from the edge and the bottom. Some people like to draw lines or crease it. I don't have time for that, so I'm not going to do it. All right. There's about 1 inch. And I'm going to press down. And I'm going to get my 1/4 inch score tape and use that as a spacer. Some people don't do that, and I've tried not doing it, but I did not like the results. So I'm going to go ahead and lay my 1/4 inch tape down. And that works as a guide, and it's good for making the paper lay nice and neat. Putting my ruler back so I know I have a 1 inch border. I'm taking the backing off of the spine piece. And a couple more here. Okay. So I'm going to use the edge of the tape as a guide and my ruler here at the bottom. I'm going to lay it up against there. Press down. I'm going to get another piece up against this chipboard. And my ruler. Take the backing off. Now, if you're used to making books, I'm sure you can fast forward this part, but I got to remember that sometimes the people who watch these, it's the first time they've made a book. It's not always people who are familiar with all the techniques. So I'll show you this, and then if you don't need it, you can just fast forward. And I think people maybe do their covers a little bit different. I don't know. I know that some people don't put the tape, and anyway, okay, so perfect. Now I do have a little bit more over here, and I'll get rid of that. I'm going to turn it over and burnish it. I need to clean my mat. Whew. Keeps getting stuff on there. Want to make sure it's adhered real well. I'm going to go ahead and bring my trimmer over. I'm going to line it up with the edge of the chipboard. at the 1 inch mark and get rid of that excess. Voila. Okay, throw away some scraps here. Next, you're going to go around the perimeter of your chipboard with your score tape. So I'm going to do it on the chipboard first. Do all 4 sides, thus the word perimeter. The math teacher in me is coming out. Here we go. And the 2 sides, and then I'll be ready. And again, this is 1/4 inch score tape. And I'm going to want to burnish that just to make sure it's on real well. If you're going to make it, you might as well do it right and make sure it doesn't come apart. All this hard work keeps the book together for a long time. Okay, so now we're going to place score tape around the perimeter of the paper, and you don't have to go all the way to the end because we're going to miter our corners. Some people take a square out. I still miter. I just make sure I have a little bit of a space in between the corner of the chipboard and my paper, and I have a tool for that I use. I've had good luck with. So you can use 1/4 inch. I still have some of this. Do I want that? Yeah, I might as well use this. Okay, so I'm gonna, like I said, you don't have to go all the way to the corner because we're gonna be cutting some off. Go to the edge of the paper, as close to the edge as you can. And press down, make sure it's on real well. Sorry. Do the opposite side. I like to do the long sides first, I don't know why. As close to the edge as you can. Let me trim that. I went too far, but I don't like to waste the tape. And the 2 sides. I got a ripple. Let's see if I can get that out. Yep, got it out. Last one. So I feel really bad about that mechanism being too long. I sure hope I remember to put that on the video, not to do it the same length. Oh well. Okay, so now I have that mitering tool. It's a metal corner piece that you just lay up against here, like so, and then it gives you just the right amount of space between your paper and the chipboard so that the chipboard is covered. So let me get my knife, my blade. And I love this cutting mat, but when I use a knife on it, I can see the lines, and that bothers me. I don't want it to get ruined, so that's why I always take this piece out. And I'm just going to go ahead and trim it. So you can see how much space I left between the corner and the paper. Do the same thing to all 4 corners. I've tried doing that square where people cut out a square, but I just don't like the way it looks on my books. I don't know if I'm not doing it right, but so I'm just sticking to the old-fashioned way of doing the corners. All right, all 4 are mitered. Put that away, put that out of the way. Now when we wrap our chipboard, we are going to put a bead or a line of the art glitter glue to help it lay nice and flat so that when we fold it over and we press, we're going to have a nice smooth edge. So I like to bring up the chipboard and bend the paper where it needs to be, kind of train the paper. And I'm going to do that on all 4 sides. Just that natural fold. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and run my bone folder along the edge. This is strong paper, so I don't need to worry about it ripping. If you don't have strong paper, be careful. Okay, so I'm going to start taking the backing off. I'm going to take the I'm going to take the backing off of the chipboard bottom and the sides. That's first. Don't forget to take the let me find the tape backing off in the center between between the spine and your front and back cover. Got a little tight there. Okay. Oh, sticking. Come on, here we go. Perfect. All right, and now we are going to put the glue along the edge and give it just a second to kind of soak in. Just a thin line so that the paper sticks to the chipboard real nice. And you can just wait for a second. You don't have to wait that too long. And I'm going to push up and push out so that no ripples. Nothing irritates me more is when I get a ripple. It would help if I took the backing off of this, for crying out loud. You know how some days you just, this seems to be one of those days. And I'm going to burnish. And I am going to run my burnishing tool along the edge to get it to stick nice and neat. Make a nice edge. Let's do the opposite long side. Put your glue down up against the chipboard. All right. You know, Tammy Merrill, who is the owner of Country Craft Creations, used to say that she did not like to make the covers, and I was the same way. And now I like it because they always turn out nice and neat, and it's just kind of a, I don't know, a feeling of accomplishment maybe. But I don't mind doing them anymore. I used to really regret, not regret it. What's the word I'm looking for? I used to dread it. Not anymore. I like it. And I loved the decorating. I used to hate decorating the cover. Can you believe that? Now that's my favorite part. Isn't that strange how that changed? I love the decorating. But before I just decorated with paper, and now I like to incorporate laces and metals and all sorts of different things. So I think that's why I like it more now. I like the dimension. Okay, so you can see that there's a little bit of paper here that we need to push down so that it covers that corner. So I just take my nail and kind of push it in, and I do that at the top and the bottom just to make sure that that corner is going to be covered. And let it sit for just a second. So when I fold this over, I want to make sure those pieces are in. And bring that over. Push down real well. Burnish. And I am so low on paper, I don't even think I have. I might have to use plain paper on the inside cover. And I purposely didn't make too big of a book, I didn't think, so that I would have plenty. Oh well, we'll make it work. We'll make it work. Putting the glue in. Pushing in those pieces so that they cover the corner. If you don't have nails, just use the edge of your bone folder. And then I'll show you the corners up close, how nice and neat they are. We want the seam in the back, so look at the corners. Yay, perfect. Okay. I'm going to just push down here so that the paper sticks to that score tape that was in between. So I have one piece of paper left and I totally love it. I saved 2 pieces for the cover. Always put aside the cover so you don't end up running short. And I guess I could use this for the sides. I wanted to use them for tags, but I guess that's not going to happen unless I buy some more. Let's see. Crud. What do I do? I guess it's important to have that decorative paper on the inside. Okay, so the middle I'm going to use, I don't think I have anything long enough. Nope. I'm just going to have to use the cardstock. So let me get a piece. Okay, so I will cover the middle with plain. So if the height of my book is, what is it, 8 inches? If I don't sit down and do a whole book in one day, I forget things. So like this is like my 3rd day of working on it, so I sometimes forget. So if it's 8 inches, I probably want my paper to be close to 7 7/8 inches tall. And I do want it to go over the sides here just a little bit, so I'll probably cut it so that it is about 5.5 inches wide. So let's do that. 5.5. By 7 7/8. And that'll go right here. Now, I am going to lay down score tape on either side here, and I'll put a couple pieces in the middle. It helps the paper not buckle when you fold it like so, and it just makes your book look so much nicer. So let's go ahead and lay some score tape on either side, on the edge of the chipboard here by the side of the spine. So I'll put it on this side of the front cover and on the spine. And I'll do it over here too. Okay. And I am going to put a couple pieces in the center, so I'll use the fatter. One more, and I'll still use glue too. Okay. So not only am I going to put the score tape on my cover, I'm going to go around the perimeter of this paper, and I'm just going to use the 1/4. As close to the edge as you can get it. And I will not have any pockets on the inside, front, or back cover of this book. so that I'm trying to get it so that you guys only have to buy one paper pack. So that was 2 of each sheet of the Prima paper. Now I did have to use filler paper. I used some of the Authentic Spectrum paper. So if you can use some filler, one paper pack should do the trick. Okay. Just gonna put a couple in here and I'll fill in with some glue. Okay, so let's bring our book back over. I'm going to take the backing off of all my score tape. And I'm going to fill in with some glue. Ugh. Come on. Okay. I'm going to take it off here too while I'm at it. So I was looking on Facebook and saw that my sister got a new puppy from the Little White Dog Rescue. Sure is cute. It's not white, but it sure is a cute little thing. She decided to name it Remy. So I don't know if it's short for Remington or if that's just plain old Remy, but it's really a cute dog. I have never owned a dog, not since I've been an adult. Sometimes I wish I had one. I see how close they get. But then I think about, I'm kind of weird about messes and ooh, I just don't know, like the backyard and the picking up the mess, and if they throw up in the house, I just don't know how well I would do with that. I know how well I do, not very. But yet I would love to have the companionship of a dog, especially when my kids move out of the house. That's going to be hard. Okay, so I'm going to stand up so I can see. Trying to center it, top, bottom, and sides. Nice and straight. And let's burnish. And then we're going to train the paper. And we're going to try and get it in those creases to stick to the tape that we put as spacers. And that's what makes your book have a nice clean edge when you fold it or close it. Again, this is very strong paper, so I'm not really worried about, and I have it, the burnishing tool is not real sharp on mine, so I don't need to worry about ripping the paper. Okay, so I'm going to bring it up, and as I'm bringing up this side, I'm going to keep tucking and burnishing. Okay, nice. And now the other side. All right, so you can see how nice and neat all the edges are, I think. The inside lays nice and flat. Now, I'm going to link for the hinge, I'm going to link a video to Tammy Merrill's tutorial. I had already made this one and then decided I'm not going to use it on another book, so I had it laying around, so I'm going to use it now. So rather than make another one, I'm just going to link the process on how to make a hinge to Tammy's video because she does such a great job explaining it. I do have 5 hinges. Instead of doing the wings that come off to the side where the paper lays out flat, I wrapped it around and so that it's stronger and it's not going to overlap. So let me give you a measurement for how long these are. My hinge, okay, I don't like this ruler for that. How long did I make this? It looks like it's 7 3/8 inches long. 7 3/8. So I have some space at the top and the bottom, and that's totally okay. I do have a 1/2 inch gusset in between each of my hinges, except for on the very last one, it's like a 1/4, I think. before I wrapped it over. Between a 4th and an 8th. So I'm going to put score tape on the back, and I'm going to center it in the center. So now I have 2 things to remember. I have to tell about making the booklet shorter and link Tammy's video. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put my score tape on, and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back after decorating and putting paper on, and I am ready to adhere my hinge to the binding. And so I've already got adhesive on the back, and I'm just going to center it inside of my spine, and then I'm going to place the pages on the hinge, and I just want to make sure, open this, I want to make sure that they all fit. Yeah, they do. Okay. You just want to make sure before you go to all the work that they all fit on the hinge. And then you don't want to go all the way to the bottom. You're going to want to leave a little bit of space. So don't push your page all the way to the bottom. Okay. And I sure hope this all is all going to fit in there, because I embellished like crazy. So I hope it fits. Okay. So now it's just a matter of adhering your hinge. And some people put glue and the tape. I just have a row here that didn't get any, not a row, but just a thin line here that didn't get any adhesive, so I just want to go over that. Anywhere you have an empty spot. Okie dokie. And push down in between your in the gussets. Real well. You don't want this coming undone. Make sure you've had some movement of your spine so that they turn the pages nice and easily. And because of the thickness of how I decorated, I'm not putting anything here, and because I ran out of paper. So okay, so I'm going to use the art glitter glue this time on the hinges. We'll see how that works. I've heard a lot of people say it works great. I've never tried it. I've always done, well, maybe I have tried it, but I usually put score tape on. So here's the first page, and I don't have any tags put in there yet. And then here's the back page. Okay, and so we want to put this on and make sure that it's not all the way to the bottom. Okay, I'm going to turn this sideways. It's just easier for me to do it that way. And I'm going to place glue near the top. On both sides of the hinge. All right, here we go. Get on there. All right, now we do want to hold this together and push it in. Give it a minute to dry. Good thing about this glue is it does dry quickly. Okay. My next page is this one, and this is the one that is open, and those are actually easier to put on the hinge, I think. So we'll do one side at a time, like so. Okay, and I'm going to turn it again sideways, and I'm going to start with the back. Again, I don't want to put the glue all the way to the bottom. And you want to make sure it is even. Okay. And now I'll do the front. Close it and push down. This is going to be a chunkola book. Chunk, chunk, chunk. It's pretty. I love that paper. Okay, the middle page is this half one. And it does have an opening, so we'll slide it on. Make sure it fits first. Okay, and this one we will put glue on both sides as we go at the same time, but not all the way to the bottom. Okay, I want to make sure I got enough on there. Let's slide this on. Not all the way. All right, and I'm going to finish doing that now that you see how to do that. I've done one of each type of page, the half page, the one that's open on the top, and the one that's open on the side. And so I'm going to finish that up, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. So I'll be back. So all of the pages are in, all the decorating is done, and so I thought I'd do a real quick walkthrough of the final project. This one took me a long time to decorate. I don't know, my mind wasn't, I just couldn't get it to look the way I wanted, but eventually I think it's okay. I kind of went simple, well at least it's simple to me on the front cover, nothing too crazy. I ended up mixing some metals, and I don't normally do that, like I either stick to all silver or all gold, but I have kind of both in this one, and I thought it looked okay. So anyway, there will be a separate video of just a walkthrough, so I'll just show this one super quick, just so you can see what it looks like. I ended up using a border. It's paper, it's silver, and this is a Anna Griffin thing I had in my stash. Left the back plain, nothing there, so that it lays can sit down without having anything get in the way. And no closure. I like, you know, a lot of times I just like the books to be open so that you can just sit down and look at them. So when you open it up, there's nothing here, but you could put a picture here. I have the first page is one that you flip up. I don't have any of the tags in them yet. And there's the pocket, so I need to make tags. Here is the back of that. This opens. Oh, I forgot to put paper in here. I gotta go back and do that. I'm glad I opened that. Next page has our waterfall pocket. This is the half page. This comes out and you have the 3D book. Next page, waterfall, and the back page. So I'll do a more thorough walkthrough on another video, but if I went through something that was too fast or if I didn't show it well enough, leave a comment below and I will try and get back with you as soon as I can. And hopefully this was an easy enough project that anybody can do. This is the Prima paper once again. It was called Lavender Frost, and I think it's beautiful in the end. I look at how chunky I make these. I need to maybe make bigger gussets. And anyway, have a great night. Like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. Appreciate you watching, and I'll be back again with some more projects and tutorials for Country Craft Creations. Thanks everybody for watching.